Red Faction is a successful middleweight franchise that's built its reputation on doing one thing extremely well: the wholesale destruction of the world around you. With a high-tech mix of mining, terraforming, and open warfare, every game in the series furnishes you the tools and an excuse to blow things up in grandiose, spectacular ways. Armageddon steps away from the previous game's successful open-world experiment, packing its traditionally explosive payload into a linear third-person shooter. Does this new plan go off without a hitch?
Intel confirms a Marauder cultist led by Hell himself have overrun the terraform.
50 years after the events in Red Faction Guerrilla, residents of Mars have been driven underground after a blown terraformer renders the planet's surface uninhabitable. The apocalyptic element comes into play when a cult leader manages to unleash a horde of previously dormant monsters. As Darius Mason, grandson of the previous game's hero, you're involved in the mess from the start, and it's your job to clean it up.
Mason, should have figured you'd volunteer for this one. Well, you better know your shit.
Sure, there's a story reason for the dense horde of enemies you'll blow through, but the setup is wholly unoriginal and honestly a little dumb. Poorly developed romances and rivalries attempt to tack some human drama onto a generic doomsday scenario, but nothing sticks. By abandoning the vaguely subversive undertones of socialist revolution that added interest to other games in the series, Red Faction loses its one substantial narrative hook. Since there's no place for politics when the world is ending, you'll just have to make do with explosions and melodrama.
Look, I don't know what this place is, but blow me the hell up!
That won't be possible, Mason.
Red Faction Armageddon constantly moves you forward, providing an enjoyable, if predictable, ride along the way. You're guided through frantic battles, tempo-switching breaks to man turrets or pilot vehicles, and carefully engineered crescendos. Linear mission design, a steady stream of suggestions from the female AI construct living in your techno gauntlet, and blatant path indicators succeed in keeping you moving toward your objective. There are optional areas to explore, and multiple paths sometimes lead to the same destination, but if you're not going where the game wants you to go, you'll be forced to backtrack. You'll become more powerful through picking up new weapons and buying upgrades with accumulated salvage, the game's currency. Both paths to a more destructive you are tied to your game progress. You'll pick up each new weapon when you reach certain new areas in the game, and the upgrades you're allowed to buy are directly tied to your completion percentage, which is clearly displayed in your upgrade menu. It's a bit like a book calling your attention to the page number, but because the cues indicating the approaching end game are clear enough on their own, nothing is really spoiled. Multiplayer is restricted to Infestation mode, Red Faction's take on the cooperative player versus waves of enemies that's rightly become a staple of modern shooters. It's certainly good fun, and it's impressive how much chaos they can fit on one screen, but it hits the minimum expectation and nothing more. Ruin mode is a timed destructathon with competitive leaderboards and an option to simply screw around in free play mode. It too is enjoyable, but limited. Finishing the substantial campaign lets you play through with your accumulated loot and powers, unlocks the ability to buy cheats, and bestows upon you an entertaining bonus weapon that's as destructive as it is silly. Use it wisely.
He's not getting up from that.
Darius is a combination demolition man, repairman, and soldier, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to ply his talents in this chaotic doomsday world. There's also a low-tech solution that can solve almost any problem, your trusty hard-hitting hammer. The high-tech tools at hand afford you straightforward and effective options such as the rocket launcher and trusty dual pistols, as well as more creative finesse-based weapons like the physics-powered magnet gun and a sniper rifle that fires through solid objects. In addition to equipment, you'll also be able to use abilities to great effect, including a shockwave or stasis field. Given that your weapon set is so effective, you can almost ignore them until late in the game. While there are a lot of ways to cause damage, there's one simple solution to fix it. Your gauntlet can initially rebuild with a short-range ray, and later shoot what the game refers to as a repair grenade. This lets you repair generators and fill gaps in bridges and floors. It's a simple fill-in-the-blanks mechanic, but besides being necessary to the game's design, it gives you a real sense of dominion over your environment. Mass destruction is the game's main draw, and enemies are always plentiful in number and type, allowing you to test various methods of annihilation. Darius is pretty nimble in combat thanks to an all-purpose roll that seems incredibly durable for a normal man even before you purchase any health upgrades. Aiming feels steady and accurate, and combat overall is well done. While it's easy to enjoy your demolition job, toward the end of the game you may feel as if you're actually doing the work of a butcher. Enemies pour out of the walls to assault you at every turn, and tougher opponents can absorb incredible amounts of damage. You'll likely gravitate toward a few of the most combat-effective weapons by necessity, and patience and endurance start to feel more important than skill. Sometimes you'll just want to get on with things, but when you're frequently operating under a clear-the-area objective, overtime is mandatory. Red Faction Armageddon creates a clear contrast between its harsh surface and strangely diverse underground caves, using a lot of vertical design to make its underworld feel alternately cavernous and cramped. Despite the effort, though, both the world and its residents have a generic feel. With the exception of the weaponry and destruction depicted, you won't encounter many truly striking design elements. The world becomes more attractive as it's being destroyed. The way structures crumble, combust, and explode is truly impressive. When it comes to depicting damage, Red Faction does it like nobody else. That's not to say that it's perfect. Nothing really bends. It either falls or it doesn't. A steel toothpick may at times seem to support tons of steel and cement, but it's nothing one more blast won't fix. With Armageddon, Red Faction draws up a completely new plan that spells out every last detail of the player's job with little room for deviation. But the crazy damage model that always defines the series plays as well here as it did in an open world. The destruction certainly packs a punch. It's just not quite enough to blow us away.